Hey guys, it's Lunar with a new series I'd like to call the Lunar Eclipse. In this series I will go over games that really intrigued me while playing the ladder. This could be because they were hilariously and dumb, or just very skillful by either me, or more often than not, the opponents. These will mostly be 1v1 games, and could be games I played on stream or outside of it. Right here in the top right is me, Argentum Lunae, and Lepovoval, the blue turn in the bottom left, shall be my opponent this game. It's on Secret Spring, it's one of the new maps in the map pool, and I really like this map because in the early game there's only one entrance point to the opponent's side of the field, which can be blocked off by these rocks. And I usually am a very passive and defensive player, which is strange usually as Zerg, but this map will give me the ability to go up to 3 bases more comfortably when I just control this area. For the later stages of the game, it's possible to break these rocks to open up additional attack paths. Here my opponents will go for an early scout around my base, and hopefully for him, he will not see too much aggression coming out of me. Well, I'm going for a 15 pool, 16 hatch. Because his SCV is here, my gas will be a bit earlier. And the start of this will be a very standard game, which we can skip. Because very standard games you already know of. And I'm chasing the SCV away here. Drone goes back to build the hatchery. And all is fine and dandy. On my opponent's side of the map, however, the same is happening. All very standard, very clean, and not much going on. My opponent checking for a third. Well, at this point in the game, no one would have had a third, unless you go 3 hatch before pool. This marine here, very interesting, is Overlord hunting, which I really like Terrans doing. When they sent one of the first marines out, well, when the second one is finished, send one of the first marines out to go hunt for overlords. Because here, he doesn't get it, but he does push this overlord away. And this overlord is meant to... That's the wrong button again. I'm great at this, aren't I? Is meant to scout into his base from this side. And scouting is very important because the standard meta is for Terran in CVT to go bio. However, he's not. You see here his stack lab on the factory. He is in fact going mech. And his first tank is building right now. I catch a marine out where he doesn't lose an overlord. Not too big of a deal for anyone. He does prevent my scouting with his overlord, and it costs him a marine, which is 50 minerals. He gets his own natural, which again, very nice about this map. It's an in-base natural, so not too much harassment will come to it. And again, all fairly standard. My speed is coming up. However, I have no idea that he is going mech, so I'm assuming bio. I get down these rocks to be able to more comfortably get onto 3 bases. And assuming he's going bio, I'm going for, well, all the standard things you would go against bio. 3rd base at around 6 minutes. I will get banelings and all that good stuff against tanks. Luckily for me, he doesn't get this weird early push out with like 2 tanks and a few marines, which would have caught me off guard. But again, this map, very useful, has given me the opportunity to block this. And where's my overlord? It's scouting here. The point I was trying to make, this overlord, or in fact the one that was here, if it's here, then it could very easily see what is taking down these rocks and giving me a head start on the composition of my opponent's army. I do, however, scout and see he has 2 factories, so I now know he's going mech. And I do not exactly react accordingly. Most people will go, oh, it's mech, you need swarm house. No, I just go into mute house. which is really strange. But roaches and mutas are actually a pretty effective way to go up against mech, because they're so mobile. Here's my spider going down. Here's my third base. I need to really continue making more drones, which I am, but look, I have 300 minerals and I'm not making drones at this very moment. That's not very good. On my opponent's side of the base, however, he's getting blue flame, he's getting hellbats, he's getting a bunker on the low ground because reasons. I'm not really sure about this move, but I'm not Terran, so maybe there's benefit to this. It is protected by the tanks, which is nice, and it's in a more forward location than inside his base. His Eva chamber is down. 4 turrets, his army is making upgrades, his third factory is going down. All is just macro, macro, macro for everyone. I have a baneling nest, I have my own upgrades, I get melee and carapace upgrades at first. And my fifth and sixth gas are a bit late, but my drone count isn't that high yet either. It could have been pushing 70 at this point. My creep spread looking decent. Another thing about this map, the third is pretty hard because it's so far away. You could take this third, for which you have to go all the way around here to protect it, or this third, which means that you need to go all the way from this ramp here and up there with your creep spread. I'm getting 4th base because, well, I have seen mech. Mech is slow. What do you do against slow? You expand a lot. With a lot of expansions, it doesn't really matter if you lose one. And you can just avoid the army. You should not have a single base that you have to defend to survive. He's getting turrets and all the defense against my mutalisks. And he's going out for a nice troll towards my base. He's gonna try and fight me. That's what he's going to do. I'm gonna get an observer into his base. See that, yes, in fact, he's going very heavy on the mech. A marine's walking there. And here, I do not see it here yet, but I do have these 2 banelings, which I should have noticed because I knew there were 2 lings in here, which will spot this army. And so will my mutas with a few hits to the face. And well, he's moving out with a few hellbats, 2 Thors, 2 tanks, 4 marines, which is a pretty effective push in general. You got hellbats to counter the lings, marines to counter fucking everything, tanks to counter the banelings, and Thor to counter my mutas. Which is all great for him. However, when Zerg is microed correctly, the banelings can take care of the marines and the hellbats, which they very effectively do. Then the mutas can sweep in and magic box over the Thors. But Thors are counter to hellbats. Well, as I think you're familiar with the game if you're watching this, Thors are a counter in a straight up fight, but with a little micro you can easily take down a few Thors if you have just enough mutalisks. And now he's left with 3 tanks and 2 hellbats against, well, mutalisks. He does take out nearly all my mutalisks with his Thors though, so these 3 mutalisks have a lot of work to do. My lings suicide themselves into the hellbat and don't achieve anything. And I focus the hellbats with my mutas while taking the tanks out with my lings. And that was a pretty powerful push. I lost nearly all of my mutas, but that's okay. Because his third isn't saturated yet. And he did no economical damage. He took out 1 queen. That's all the economy he took from me. A few larvae. And now I'm coming in with with a counterattack. 5 mutas, it's not gonna do much against this base. This base is well defended already. And I actually use muta, which is not very good. Thor production is high, so I go into roaches. Roaches are great against Thors. They are fairly cheap, however they are fairly cheap and fast, and the Thors have too slow an attack to effectively deal with the amount of roaches you can make. I still keep up my muta production, get my upgrades. I immediately go from melee upgrades to missile upgrades, and the game gets back into mech-ring. As you can see, I'm very much a defensive player who sometimes move out to do a little bit of harassment. I get my 5th. This is my 5th. Yes, I can count. It's my 5th. And all is stabilizing again after that attack. It didn't do much, and the game is still very even. On the opponent's side of the map, he has 3 factories, and now he's going into barracks, which is a bit curious, you would think. But this, in fact, is a very good move of his, because adding bio to mech army makes it a really strange composition to deal with. He's moving out again with just mech. He has a few marines in there, a marauder, but again, this will be shut down by banelings and roaches, which is exactly what I have. He has only 1 tank, which is not nearly enough to deal with what I have with my defensive army. I see his army on my creep, pull my roaches back to avoid it a bit, let him come to me. He has a tank, and I don't want to engage too close to it. And now I go in with my roaches, magic box with my mutas, and barely clean up this attack again. But that's the point. If you're defensive, you only need to barely clean it up. I do have a lot of mutas left, but my ground army is hurting. Then again, so is his, because he threw his entire army into that. He now has what he has just produced during that. And he's going for even more factories. As I was trying to say, I would like to see him moving out for a 4th, which he is doing. My muta is just scouting around the map, seeing what he's up to. My 5th base, not yet saturated, but getting there. My 4th base isn't even fully saturated on minerals, but as you can see, I'm not mineral starved in the slightest. I find a Thor. I'm wondering if I should take it out, but when I lose muta, I decide not to. My roaches are coming here, and here is that alternate attack path sort of coming into effect. Why are there drones in this? I did not notice this in the slightest. But this will not be the last time you see drones be used to take down rocks. Here I take down the 4th of my opponents just before his army gets here, and I move out. And this is the strength of roaches and mutas against the mech army. Not the direct engagement, but the damage you can do by avoiding the enemy army. And going a bit faster through this, because this goes on for quite a while, just back and forth. He pushed up with a big attack, I defend, and I go into his base for a few small counterattacks. Here I take out a Thor, take out a few SVs, a missile turret, a few add-ons, and now I'm getting pushed back by Marines. And in the meantime, he has his 4th up. I got my roaches, I got my mutas. I should be making a few more banelings at this point, because they are very effective against the Marine he has. They are always very effective against Hellbats. They're just really useful units to have against most compositions of terrain. I'm getting my roaches. I know his army is in the main, so he can never defend this. And I do, again, a lot of damage. And the army is outside of the main. I go into it with my mutas. He has to pull back. And here you can see me just very much abusing the slowness of a mech army. But he's coming up to level 3 weapon upgrades. Whereas I am on 2-2 still. I don't have a lair, I do have a lair, but I forget to upgrade. And here comes the big engagement. My bad. An engagement, not the big engagement. The big engagement will be on the other side of my base. Right over here. But he's, you know, running around with a biomech army, which is a really strange composition, because bio is really fast. It can chase me down. Whereas mech is a very methodical and slow composition, where setup location is key. So this makes it so that he can set up his mech army in one good location, put his tanks right where he wants it, and use his bio force to have that tank use bio force to push out with that tank and those falls as a safe ground. Here it comes. He takes out my 5th. He has already taken out my 4th, so I am getting low on bases. My roaches will have to pull back because this army is scary. I have to deal with this or he'll roll over me. These swarm hosts I made aren't doing anything. They were not protected and they just get smashed. And now have a handful of roaches and Mutalis against Thors, Marines and a tank. Not effective. And you can see in the straight up engagement I get obliterated, and that's GG. So as you can see, Mutas and Roaches get hard countered by mech. However, you can, with that composition, still do so much damage to a turn. I took out add-ons, I took this base so many times. And if you play it correctly, you can actually win games just by doing that minute damage. I like to call it death by 1,000 cuts. Or, well, somebody else has made up that name. But it's a nice way of putting it, because you always do just a little bit of damage and a little bit more. And the point of it being is that those small amounts of damage you're doing will stack up until you have so much more army supply than the opponent, so much more capability of replenishing your army, that eventually you will weather them down. But I hope you liked this first episode. If you do so, like the first episode. Leave a comment on what you would like to see, something I could improve with my speech, because, well, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not very good at it, I'm not used to it, I'm sitting here alone in my room talking to a monitor, and this is the first time that I do it, so give me some feedback, positive, negative, constructive, preferably not destructive, and I'll see you next episode. Alright, now I have to stop it. I'm gonna stop it. Bye.